What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey. How is it that some gardeners have a few plants and get huge harvests, while others have a lot of plants and get small harvests? So today, I want to share with you a tip I wish I knew when I first started growing my own food. Let's go! Years ago, when I first started growing cucumbers, the plant would only yield a few fruit before it stopped flowering and ultimately stopped producing fruit. I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong. It was the same thing with my beans, my peas, and a few of my other plants. The plants were healthy, they were green, but my harvests were small. I remember seeing other gardeners' basil plants too. They were big, bushy, lush, a lot of leaves, while mine would grow a little bit, then flower, and then slow down in growth tremendously. Then I realized, after some research and some common sense, what my issue was, why experienced gardeners were getting bigger harvests, and it was something I can easily change, something you can change as well. It had to do with understanding the cycles of plant growth, flowering, fruiting, and seeding, all those different stages. I learned that I can manipulate or trick the plant into staying in particular stages of its production based on what plant I was growing. For instance, this basil right here. I realized that the production of leaves in this basil plant, which we wanted, slowed down after the plant started to flower. And all I had to do was just pick off the flowers, just prune them off like this, and the plant would then focus on producing more leaves to ultimately, in the end, produce even more flowers. So what I do now with the basil is just go through whenever I see a flowering head, just like this one here. I just pick the top right off. And not only does that increase the production of leaves, as you can see here, it goes from one flowering head to now two. It doubles. So what I do is every time I see that flowering head, just pop it off, and the number of heads doubles. The number of production of leaves doubles. So the more time that goes, the bushier and bigger this plant actually gets. Then I realized the same basic principle would apply to other plants like peas, cucumbers, beans, zucchini. Oh, look, oh my gosh. Tuck, what's this, boy? Looks like Tuck buried one of his toys in the garden. Trying to grow another pink hamburger. Look at it, boy. He's always having a good time in here. He just got back from burying his hamburger. Maybe we'll get some more coming up next year. But when I first started growing with my cucumbers, I would grow them, they would grow excellently. They would start to produce fruit. I would let that fruit on there ripen and get a little overripe actually. Then it would stop producing flowers. It would just focus on taking that fruit, ripening the seeds within it so it can produce the next generation. Sort of like this one here I left as an example. This cucumber is yellow, it's overripe, and because this plant is overripe, it's just working towards creating good seed for next year. So it's gonna stop producing flowers. As opposed to if you pick the cucumbers when they're young and when they're small, just like that basil plant picking off the flowers, what this will do will make it so that it produces more flowers on this cucumber plant and more cucumbers. You'll almost put it into panic mode where it's like, oh no, we can't produce fruit. Let's produce more flowers, more fruit to give us better chances. That's what you want to do. Pick more and you'll get more. Then the somewhat obvious idea hit me that all annual plants mainly want to do is to produce seed for next year. So when we pick these cucumbers when they're small, we're just encouraging it to produce more fruit. And that's what it wants to do. It wants to produce as much seed as it can so that it can drop down for the next generation and climatize it to the local environment more and more. So like I said, pick more, get more. It was an overall better understanding of the way things work, the way plants work, which helped me to achieve that better yield. Which for me is exciting because it didn't take more work, it didn't take more space, it didn't take more plants. All it took was that realization. And it's like I already had the stage set for everything to go well. I had the healthy plants, but I just didn't have that knowledge. So that's why I think knowledge is definitely power, like they say, but applied knowledge, that's true power. You have to actually put to work what you know. It reminds me of a saying or a quote, and it goes something like, the first step to doing better is to find out how things work. So I think that's pivotal. That's what I did. And then I took the next step of putting that actual knowledge to work. And that worked for me, giving me bigger harvests. If you guys enjoy the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends. Check out the merch down in the description and on the scroll thing at the bottom. And we're gonna continue going with this video. And if you guys are enjoying Tuck, hit that like button too. Like I mentioned, the same concept works with many other plants. Plants like beans, which we have here. Here's the red yard-long beans. Got some, as you see, grapes growing over them, but we've got some little beans right here. So we're gonna make sure we pick these when they're still relatively small. We're not gonna let them get huge and let them finish producing the seed, or that'll slow down the production of more flowers. So we're gonna stay on top of picking those. We also have new beans planted here, a bunch of different varieties. One of our favorite ones As you know, the dragon tongue bean, we have a couple of those. So it works for beans, peas. It's going to work for your lettuces. You're going to want to continue to pick those, and your Swiss chards. And it's also going to work for your zucchinis. So when it comes to this, one thing is, in general, when it comes to zucchinis, cucumbers, I love picking the stuff when it's smaller. Not only does that help with the production, but it's sweeter, it's softer, and I think it's just overall better. So make sure you stay on top of picking all your things, and make sure you plant things in succession. You'll notice those cucumbers, have been there for a while, those are almost finished producing. But in the front, I've got more cucumbers planted the next round. So we're always planting a succession of things. This is either our second or third round of zucchinis we have growing too. So we try to make the most of the space with getting the most production out of it, but also with timing. That's a Masanobu Fukuoka trick right there. He's a huge manipulator of time. He uses time to his advantage. That's something we've learned and something we're trying to add more and more to the garden and our philosophy and gardening style more as things progress. I want to show you a few more things in the garden. Between the zucchini and the beans right there, I've got some carrots planted. You can probably see them down there. And over here, we've got more zucchini planted by Tomato Alley, some new rounds of zucchini. So they're one of my favorite things that I cook up and saute and eat. I really love zucchini, and this year, for some reason, I've just liked them more than any other year. So peppers over here, some of them are doing well. Tomato Alley still looks fantastic. Look at that thing, loaded with tomatoes, more over there, more over there. A lot of tomatoes on these plants here. So I've been eating so many tomatoes more than I can eat, and that's a great feeling, and I love being able to do that. Some of these peppers in this section are looking okay, but the ones in the front are just looking fantastic. I wanted to show you some of these peppers though. Look at this thing, just absolutely loaded with peppers. So many on it. I can't wait for those to ripen. Once we start getting some peppers and so the next round of cucumbers, as you can see back there, maybe I'll do another harvest video. It'll have tomatoes, peppers, you know, all different stuff. Here we have a basil. This thing's a monster, one of my favorite varieties of basil. I talked about, I think, last video. This is the Tulsi, but this is the same scenario where I just left a few of these on to show you. We just came through for the whole year and just picked them off any of the flower clusters, because that's going to keep this plant producing. That's why this thing is just so bushy, so big, and so productive, because I'm always coming and taking off these flowering heads, just again causing the plant to almost go into like hyperdrive to try to produce more leaves so it can produce more tops and more flowers, so it has a chance to produce that seed and get the next generation going. So it's a little trick, the little manipulation that really aids in our overall production. And the green beans, we're going to be doing that with the same thing. Once we get little green beans on there, we're going to harvest those so that I focus on creating more flowers, more fruit. And it's funny because one of the beans that I planted, actually accidentally planted a pole bean. I was pretty positive that it was a bush bean, but it obviously isn't. I think it might have been labeled wrong because it wasn't in a seed pack. It was something that someone gave to me. As we can see, these first round of the little dragon tongue beans are starting to produce. So let them get bigger than that. And more of these peppers. Oh man, I can't wait. Peppers are some of my favorite late summer snacks, early fall snacks. And they're just loaded with peppers on them. Love to see it. And that's why we're always planting more stuff. Again, planting the next round, like we have the next round of cucumbers. Planting things in succession and trying to get the most out of our space. Once I go over by the cucumbers, Tuck seems to find his way in and grab his own. As you can see, this cucumber is relatively small. This is a good size to pick them. You don't want to get them when they're big and yellow, like I previously showed you, because that means they're overripe. That means they're focused on producing seeds. You want to get the cucumbers while they're still focused on producing this fruit before the seeds start to get too big. And picking them at this age will just encourage more and more to grow.
Baby, I asked you not to keep me waiting. I told you not to keep me waiting.
Hit that like button if you guys love seeing Tuck eat the fresh veggies. We're starting to call him YouTube Tuck because he gets proud when we read him all the comments about how everyone loves him. And he sits there and listens, and I think he understands. He appreciates all the love everyone sends, so put some hearts down in the comments too to show your love for him. That's today's video, growers. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Videos like these, for me, they're some of my favorite ones to make because it's just a little idea, just a little tip, just a little tweak in what you're doing can make the difference between getting small harvests and huge harvests. So to me, that has a lot of value in it. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share with your friends, check out the merch, and let me know down in the comments what you guys are working on towards next year. Let me know what's done great for you this year, if your tomatoes are doing good, if your peppers are starting to set up. Tuck and James Prigioni will be back at you real soon. We out.